are new developments. One of the new developments is you talked about what's popular, what's not popular. One thing that's incredibly unpopular right now is the Republican Party under your leadership. You came to this town within a year. You've become the most prominent Republican in this town, and we now have polling data that shows Republican Party less popular than it's ever been in the history of the party, which is shocking. I wonder if you now, and this is, you know, we're all friends here, we can talk. Do you feel like you owe your party an apology? Listen, you had people who believed in you. They believed that you were going to somehow be able to defund Obamacare. They believed that this strategy of shutdown might have a chance. They followed you into a ditch, and now there's obviously no chance that Obamacare is going to be defunded, and we're on the brink of a horrific default. Do you think that in the reflection of your own heart, you might say, you know what, I'm a new kid here, I think I owe you guys an apology?
You know, Van, I know you desperately want to change the topic from Obamacare, and it is striking. Hold on, let me answer your question.
From the default to the destruction of the world economy?
Van, let me answer, answer your question. Listen, Democrats in this town do not want to discuss Obamacare. Why? Because it isn't working. We saw this week President Obama's approval ratings are at 37%, the lowest it has ever been. The Wall Street Journal poll just came out, and Democrats have the lowest support among the middle class they've had in 40 years of polling. Why is it? And why is it? And it's for two reasons. Number one, because House Republicans are working to fund vital government priorities. They've passed 14 bills to do it, and President Obama and the Democrats refused to negotiate. And number two, it is because House Republicans are listening to the millions of Americans who are losing their jobs, who are being pushed into part-time work, who are facing skyrocketing health insurance.
Great stuff. Do you agree with this? Is this your analysis, Mr. White?
The notion that Obamacare is a failure, I think, is a product of right-wing histrionics. I went into our insurance exchange in Rhode Island when I was home over the weekend. There was a family at the front desk. They had been in earlier to get waited on and to get served, and they were so happy with the way they were treated that they were now coming back. They brought in 2 big tubs of Dunkin' Donuts coffee and stacks of donuts for everybody. The report from Christy Ferguson, who's running it, is that people are hugging their employees when they find out what the options are. The idea that CMS, that's a pretty anecdotal story, CMS has adjusted the long-term 2010 to 2020 costs for Medicare and Medicaid down by $1.2 trillion from the 2010 estimates to 2013. You got to believe that Obamacare has something to do with those huge savings. The Republican Party decided that Obamacare was going to be a failure early on, before Obamacare was even decided. It was a political choice to pull all support for anything that this president wanted to do. Now they have to live, so they have to maintain that storyline. But I have to tell you, Senator Cruz, I don't see it at home. I don't believe it. And I think if you know anybody who had a child, say, with a pre-existing condition, who was trapped in their job for the rest of their lives because they could never move because no other insurer would ever cover for them, or the child who went beyond the cap, and the parents had to sell their house in order to pay for the continued cancer treatment because they'd blown through the cap. Those are situations that needed attention, and Obamacare has fixed them.
Well, and let me respond to that with two things. Number one, it's interesting that you apparently found a family in Rhode Island that went on the exchanges and got insurance.
1,300.
It was publicly reported there were 580 in Rhode Island. In Iowa, it was reported there were 5 in the entire state. So enrollment has been.
Like
but let me make a second point, which is you said criticism of Obamacare is, quote, right-wing histrionics.
Yes.
And I'm curious if you think it was right-wing histrionics when James Hoffa, the president of the Teamsters, said that Obamacare is destroying the health care of millions of hardworking men and women in this country.
I have heard that Mr. Hoffa has said that you're using that quote is inappropriate and out of context.
Okay.
So
well, then hold on. The nice thing about Crossfire, we can have some back and forth.
We're going to come back to this in a minute.
I'm not Mr. Hoffa.
We have to take a break, but don't.